Welcome everybody to the Serpent Tarot for another pick a card reading, but this is not just pick a card, but it's kind of more pick a set of runes, because this particular topic, which is messages from your inner witch or warlock, I guess, to be as inclusive as possible, is based on or was inspired by me just receiving a Kickstarter that I backed, which is these beautiful runes. They're called the Shadow Witches runes. The details about them, if you want to get a copy for yourself, are, like always, down in my description box. But what I thought I would do with it is I would have a slightly different structure to readings that I usually have. So I thought that I would have randomly pick three, and I don't know what they are, runes for each reading, and have them as three areas that your inner witch or warlock want to talk to you about. And we'll use tarot, and in each different reading we'll have a different tarot deck, which is part of the choice, plus one common one, which is a little bit unusual as a tarot deck, which I'll explain in the reading itself. And out of all of that, we will look at each rune, each message, see if they're related or not, and look at the core message, how it might manifest, how it's changing you, and some astrology around it. So these may be relatively quick readings. It sort of depends how complex or connected they may be. So we'll see. I'll know better at the end of filming this as to whether that turns out to be an accurate prediction or not. But without any further ado, I'll just put down the numbers as I always do. So pile number 1 has the White Fly Tarot. Pile number 2 has the Luminox Tarot, and pile number 3 has the Tarot of the Holy Spectrum. So if you're familiar with those tarots, that might help you choose, or you might be drawn to one of these three sets. And I'd sort of say, unless you do normally just go to a particular one, try and tune in as much as possible to the runes, because that's the key part of it. But I just wanted sort of the visual here and a bit of variety in it using the different decks. But in the end, you do you. When you know what reading or readings that you want to go to, and you can certainly go to more than one, the timestamps as always are in the description box below, and I'll see you there. Welcome pile 1 to your reading. So the three runes you got, the first rune is the rune that represents the feminine, the divine feminine, the woman. So there is something that is in these messages that are about that, these sort of issues around the divine feminine. It could be, given that the second rune is the sun, which is about, amongst other things, identity, your life path, and so forth. It could be that there's a connection between the divine feminine energies for you and how that fits with who you are and your personal brand and how you want to be in the world. And there could be a change energy operating around all of this, because you also have the scythe, which is about endings. But it may not be that they're connected together. These could be three separate areas, and we will have a look and see what connections there are across the reading with tarot. But certainly there is something around all things to do with the feminine. So this, for some of you, this could be about you expressing feminine qualities, looking at and concentrating on nurturing and caring. And I'm talking about divine feminine here. I'm not talking about the choice of gender. I'm talking about those sorts of energies. It could be that you want to do something that is a traditional feminine role in some way. That could be coming out of this, or it could be even how you want to present yourself in the world. Certainly in terms of the sun, this could be your life path, and it could be connecting, and it could be a change operating to allow your life path to move forward. But this is always a very positive sign. This is a sign where there is growth, where you're going in the right direction, where you are establishing yourself. So that's a very positive energy. And then with the scythe, as I say, this could be something that you are leaving behind or finishing to actually come into who you are. So, and apologies if I'm feeling like the lighting isn't great here, but unfortunately that's partly because it's very overcast. So that's partly why I held up the runes for you to see. But what we want to start with is tarot and get a little bit more information about this. So for each, I'm going to go through looking at tarot, the second tarot deck that I talked about, and I'll explain why I'm using that, some alchemy and archetype energy, and some astrology. So we're going to go through one by one, and as we do this, we'll sort of get a sense about whether these things could be interrelated, and if so, how. So firstly, this energy of the rune of the feminine, the woman. Let's see what we get, the further clarification about what your inner witch or warlock is wanting to say to you. Two of Wands reversed. Knight of Pentacles reversed. The Hierophant. The Ten of Swords. Okay, I do think for most of you there's something connected at least between these two runes. And the reason I say that is when I see something like the Ten of Swords, which is endings, the worst is over, it's been darkest before the dawn, there's something around this which I think you are going to be disconnecting from your life. So it could be around a relationship and how much you give compared to what other people give to you. That could be the energy that we're looking at here. It could be you making some distinct decisions about whether you want to stay traditional in some way around the things that we think of as femininity and nurturing, whether in fact that is connecting with your life path. In fact, I do think this is kind of telling me that these three things are connected for most of you, because I feel like this is tilting towards the sun. With the Two of Wands reverse, it's suggesting it at the moment there is something about the balance of the divine feminine and masculine probably for you that is out of balance. And it's out of balance, I think, because of you being required to be dedicated to something that you aren't innately dedicated to. A relationship, a career path, whatever it might be. And there has been quite a lot of drama around it. And I think what your inner witch wants to tell you is that you're on the right path if you're starting to move in a different direction and you're starting to work out what you won't have in your life. So it could be in a workplace in relation to the Knight of Pentacles reverse, but the Knight of Pentacles reverse more generally to me is just where there is a shifting of commitment, where there isn't sort of something long term. And when it's next to the Hierophant, I feel like there's something very much here about what you've been traditionally expected to do, particularly around nurturing and caring and all of those sort of elements compared to what you want to do. And it looks like you've got to that breaking point where you go this far and no further. That's it. And I think the runes want to tell you that that's right, that that's heading in the right direction for you to do that. It could be also you making a decision about whether or not your life path is with another person. And the reason that I say that is it could be that you or the other person wants to go to the next step, but one of you is not committed to that. And so there is a kind of a separation operating so that you can move forward with what you want. So if you are waiting for somebody to make a commitment, this could be an indication that commitment is not likely to be forthcoming. And if you realize that and move on, you're more likely to bring in what you want. If you are the person who doesn't want to commit, then it may be that it's time to make that clear. So it depends whether we're talking about a relationship or something that has more to do with either your identity or your career. So before we move on to the next part, with the other runes, let's have a look at the other pieces of information that might give us more. So as I said in the introduction, there's another tarot deck that I recently got called Visions of Life Tarot, and it's an unusual tarot in as much as it's obvious what the major arcana are, but the minor arcana, it's a bit harder to tell. I'm sure there's correlations across the board, but it's not really divided into suits. So I use it more like an oracle, and I use it because it gives a very 3D real world type of energy. Because there is also a potential around a spiritual shift here, shifting away from something spiritually. It could have been shifting away from a patriarchally based spiritual energy to move towards something that embraces the divine feminine, for instance. So it's very possible in these readings that we'll get, spiritual or kind of like 5D related sort of issues. So I wanted to get a couple of cards to also add to this information for you that are kind of more 3D oriented, which you will see as I put it down. So we're just going to get 2 extra cards on that level to see what else there is around the feminine energy around this, whatever that means to you. We have defeat reversed. So you're going to win in whatever this is. If you felt that you've the worst is definitely over on whatever this is, but it may require you to move away from something. And we have enthusiasm reverse. Okay, so you have to balance something here. I think this might be part of the message because you want to move forward, but something has to be closed out and finished to allow you to move forward. So there's something here, and I say it connects to sort of issues around the divine feminine energy in whatever way that resonates for you, where you have been kind of a bit held back and you are needing to liberate yourself. The worst is definitely over. You realize something about all of this, but you're not quite yet ready to move forward with all the speed that you could. You're being a bit careful about it. And that might be a good thing, particularly if other people are involved, other people's feelings and so forth. But it's kind of a feeling of having come through the worst, there's cautious optimism. That's the energy that I'm getting around this. So let's see the alchemy around it. Let's see what the change process is for you primarily in this piece of advice. Quicksilver. Now that's interesting because you want to move faster on this. It's a kind of a volatile energy. So whatever this is, I do think whether it's sort of, it could be leaving a workplace, it could be leaving an academic institution, it could be leaving a spiritual group, it could be leaving a partner where, as I say, either you're no longer committed or they're no longer committed. There's something a bit volatile about it. Communication is very important. Clear communication is important. But Quicksilver wants to move fast. What this is telling me is that you are being judicious about this. It's probably one of the reasons why, although we have the separation sort of energy here, we have a sense that you're on the right path. You know what you're doing. But be aware, going too fast could make this more painful than it needs to be, either for you or for another person. Okay, let's look at the archetype that your inner witch or warlock would like you to consider in dealing with this energy. The desert. All right, okay. So I think this is you leaving something or someone. So I think if you aren't at the point where, because I think you would know, if you aren't at the point where you know that there's something about your nurturing, your caring, and the sort of balance of that with someone else, in terms of commitment and mutual sharing and collaboration or whatever it is, if you're not at the point of knowing that, this possibly isn't the right reading, and maybe try one of the other readings, because this is pretty clear, and it's really interesting how we're getting a kind of a doubling up of its symbolism. We've got the Ten of Swords, which is a very good card to represent the scythe. We've got the desert, which is the sun. Now the sun can be an issue. It can be almost too bright in all of this. This is why, particularly with Quicksilver, you need to kind of be judicious in how you deal with this. It is saying you're heading in the right direction, but you may need to stand on your own for a period of time and be prepared for that and know that and go, okay, this is just a process. I'm heading in the right direction. So it's kind of very clear that you almost have to be the grown-up or the responsible one around this for some reason. Okay, given that that's a little bit to ask of somebody, because it looks like it's been kind of a difficult situation, I'm just going to get you 2 astrology cards as well around dealing with this aspect of it, which is you getting back in the balance of what it would mean to you around nurturing, caring, all of those sort of attributes in your life, and how that's impacting something that you need to probably separate from. So we have Saturn. Yeah, there's been something very restrictive on you. This is what it's saying. There's been something very restrictive. And I am getting, for some of you, it may be leaving some form of spiritual group or whatever that was highly patriarchal to allow the female energy come in, or vice versa. If it was something that was too divine feminine and there wasn't enough sort of action, I mean, it could be the opposite as well. But I think it's more likely that the right direction is connecting more to the divine feminine. Saturn is things that are stuck, things that have done their time in this sort of context. So it's definitely saying that it's about long-term things, it's about serious things, it's about commitment, and I think it is tilting towards, really questioning whether this is the right thing to be committed to. One other astrology sign for you is the 9th house. Yeah, it's about belief. For a lot of you with that Hierophant, it could be literally about a spiritual group, that it's done its time and you're not getting the nurturing or support from it, or a spiritual collaboration or something, a spiritual belief system. Doesn't have to always be that. It could be academia, as I said. That could be a thing with the 9th house. It could also say there could be a thing here that one of the things that's being suggested to you is that a physical break as well as a kind of mental and emotional one might be helpful by something like travel. Like just getting out, seeing more of the world, getting separated from this energy, like putting some distance, literal distance between you and the person or the situation could be helpful. Okay, so the second rune is saying that you are heading in the right direction. So we know that, so that's good. So let's see a little bit more encouragement maybe from Spirit about, and from your inner witch, about why that is. Pile 1. Page of Cups. The Lovers. Oh, okay. So for quite a few of this could connect to a love relationship. The Empress. The Ace of Cups. Wow. Okay. So whether or not this is separating from something that's not working, that either you're not committed to or the other person isn't committed to, or whether it's separating from sort of family and sort of generational sort of issues around relationships or whatever, or whether it's separating from a workplace or a spiritual group, this is meant to bring love into your life. Now, if you're already in a happy relationship, it's other people that you can connect with much more on a mutual divine feminine energy. This is a beautiful energy. This is definitely saying that if this has been difficult, something really beautiful is coming in once you've actually done the work and done the separation, it allows you to go back to say, what do you want in terms of love? What would be mutually nurturing? What could be formed out of it? But I think for a lot of you, regardless of whatever you're separating from, if you're not already in a very, very good relationship, this is indicating that that's what's coming. So let's see what the Visions of Life Tarot says, either as further confirmation or anything you need to be aware of to really keep. So if you felt in the desert, you're not and alone, or this has made you feel alone, something is coming in where you're not going to. So let's just see what other advice or energy in kind of the more 3D level your inner witch or warlock is wanting to say to you. Motivation reverse. Okay, so you need to think about that. You need to be motivated by this. But on these two together, I would say for many of you, you've been in a very restrictive relationship or restrictive ideas about relationships or a restrictive environment in some way. So you kind of have a sense that love, whether it's passion and love in a romantic relationship or whether it's in some sort of passionate creative project, it's there, but you are going to need to think about what motivates you. You need to really go within and decide that, because I feel almost like you've been doing whatever motivates other people to date. And contentment. Oh, lovely. That's what you're heading towards. Once you make the motivation about you and your life path, you can reach contentment. It's a beautiful message for you here, pole 1. Excuse me. So let's see the alchemy. What changes within you, or what change process is necessary? I think primarily to get this motivation going. Sap of the moon plant. You need to go within. And that sort of fits for me. It feels like you've been in restrictive situations or relationships. It's always been about the other person, the beliefs of the group, whatever it is. You need to go within to find your emotional center. This sap of the moon plant is all about the place of dreams and about kind of understanding and getting within your inner guidance and all of those sorts of things. And it's there. It's saying it's all there for you. But you need to motivate yourself to do that. And it's kind of like you have to reduce burdens around you in some way to make that possible. Let's see what archetype could be helpful for you to contemplate. The King. Okay, so I think this is a couple of things. Because we've got this divine feminine empress here, for some of you, the process of shifting this is going to bring some sort of divine counterpart. And this is not about gender, but like king and empress, you know, king and queen, all of that kind of thing. So there is something around that, and going within draws that in. So that is beautiful, but you have to clear out that which isn't working or is restricting you. For others, it could be showing you literally what you need to clear out. If it is a patriarchal type of energy, when the kind of more matriarchal energy needs to come up in whatever form that is, knowing that and understanding that and taking your own sovereignty is important. So I think it just depends on what's resonating for you, but there is something here about either love or being on the right path and you being sovereign to yourself. So let's get you some astrology to help with that, pile 1. Full moon. Yeah, something is coming to an end. Something is coming to its harvest. So this is the time, and it's sort of, I think, saying that you know, you can let go without rancor, without issue, so that you can open your heart to the new, you know, because the full moon is about reaping what you sow, and understanding your own decisions have also been part of this. And we have Mars, yeah, and it's got something to do with feminine versus masculine energy in the sense of divine feminine or masculine, and you need to take control of this to draw it in. I just feel like this is saying that you have, generally speaking, tilted towards the sort of divine feminine, the nurturing, the caring, the putting the other people first. There's a kind of a thing here where you need to take on your own divine masculine. It may bring in that energy for you and whatever that means for you and your type of preferences if you're looking for love. But otherwise, you need to take control. You need to take action around this. That's all that's really required. Okay, so then let's also look at what is potentially the hardest part of this with the rune, but I think we already know what the area is. So let's see what else we can see looking at the scythe as... And the scythe can also do things like learning and understanding. So what we learn from these things when we let go is important. So let's see what else we get with that. Queen of Wands reversed. Ace of Swords reversed, Seven of Pentacles reversed, Knight of Cups. Yeah, it's the same story. So basically this is saying, this is why you need to make the shift, and it's to learn from this and make the shift to get to that. So the Sun is the key rune here. But what it is saying is you have let your own fire, your own energy be suppressed, and your own ideas suppressed in some way. You have a very different, quirky way of looking at things. You have a different approach, whether it's in a spiritual group, whether it's in work, whatever it is. There's sort of time. And look, and I always say with work, make sure you have something to go to, that you can pay the rent and all that kind of thing. But if it beyond that, there's something here where some of your originality has been suppressed, and you put that energy into things that are not going to grow for you because it's not core to you. The Queen of Wands upright is kind of the self-actualized person. That's what you're meant to be. That limits your passion for what you do, and it limits your heart. When you recognize this and you cut out that which is not going to grow for you, that's when the love comes in. Love or passion, in whatever that means for you. As I say, if you're very happy in a relationship, then it's more around you following your life path. So these two connect to this is what you've been through, and to tell you that you can actually move through it, but to tell you also how to carefully do it so that you don't burn bridges, you don't like all that kind of thing. This is to remind you why and what it is you focus on to let go of, to let the new energy in. So let's see what the Visions of Life Tarot has to add to this. Conformity. Oh, yeah, so the Hierophant reversed. Yeah, you're meant to do something different. You'll go from the Hierophant the right way up to the Hierophant reversed. You can't fit into whatever this traditional thing is. It's not who you are. So it's important to accept that and understand that's part of you becoming who you're meant to be. And optimism. Then you can be optimistic about things. Don't be the pessimist here. Be the optimist. Everything is going to open up for you. You know, it might feel a bit painful or strange to do the separation, but once you've done it, it's like a great deal of joy and a great deal of positive potential operating here. Let's see the alchemy around this, of really understanding this for you so that you can open your heart, so you move into the unique you. Sugar. Okay, so what this is saying is, well, it's interesting. It's a couple of things. One, it's saying is that there is sugar. There is something sweet at the end of this. Even if it has felt difficult, there's something sweet. And even that in whatever you've done in the learning, there's something sweet. So none of this needs to be done with bitterness. It's not necessarily that somebody has meant to dominate you or whatever, but or that you've been, you know, that the area that you've been in is intrinsically wrong. It's just that it's not right for you. So there's a sweetness around all this energy. You can do it with sweetness, but it also says that being too sweet is an issue. So if you have tended to put your own ideas to the side for the good of the group or the person, it's time to understand that would be equivalent to eating, you know, 5 chocolate cakes a day. Like, we need to have this in balance. You know, how do we bring sweetness in the right way, and how do we give sweetness in the right way? How do we bring it into balance? So what archetype would help you with this, pile 1? The Forest, yeah. You need to be able to now go into the new without fear. So there is something about this, like whether it's that you need to be alone after you've been with sort of someone for a long time but it's no longer working, or alone after you've been in a work organisation or whatever, you need to be able to see this as an exploration and to feel comfortable with that. That there's going to be a few unknowns, but you're on the right path. You have a promise here that love or passion or whatever it is that you want, and a life path that you would really enjoy is coming in. That you need to kind of trust, let go and trust. And I guess that makes sense. When we cut certain things out, we're never really sure what the new growth is going to be, but there's a promise here that it will be good. So to just finish off, we'll get a couple of astrology cards for you around this, the actual separation energy. Fixed. Yeah, and I think this is operating on 2 levels. You need to look at where you've been fixed in something where the balance was not right. And don't stay fixed because you're worried about the new. But once you decide to do it, stay fixed to your path. And Uranus, yeah, because there's great change. And it's a good balance because, as I say, if you use Uranus to move away from the revolution, the scythe, to get rid of what isn't working for you anymore, that's wonderful. And then if you use the fixed energy then to put a commitment to your new path, everything works for you. So I do think this is a combined message. It is really saying there's been an imbalance for you, Pile 1, particularly in terms of your nurturing, caring and so forth, in some sort of environment, some sort of relationship that's been too restrictive. You are meant to kind of see that without rancor, without anger, but just realistically for you, so that you understand that you can head towards what you love and find what you love, and everything is there for you once you do it. But you need to take action and you need to be sovereign to it. So I hope that this resonated for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, Pile 2, to your reading. So your runes are, and I'll hold them up because I'm not sure, the light's not great today when I'm filming, how clear this is. The first one is waves, if you can sort of see the pattern of the waves there. The second is the crossroads, so you can see the sort of different directions operating there. And the third is the rune for romance. So I do think that for many of you, this might be about love, choices about love. It doesn't have to be romantic love. If it's not romantic love, it could be platonic love, love of a group, love of a project, something like that. But for many, it's going to be that, with that rune coming up. And it's interesting. I suspect these things are related because there's almost a order operating here, because waves is all about letting go and going with the flow and trusting the universe, trusting yourself, trusting that everything will be okay. It suggests a certain degree of turbulence might be in your life at the moment around something, and you have a sense with crossroads that a significant choice is in the air. Like, whether, I would suspect for many of you it's not immediate, but it's coming, and this is why there is a sense of an advice to just go with the flow. More information will come to you. You'll have a clearer idea about what to do in time, and trust your own instincts, because you will have this choice to make, and it has something to do with love. And as I say, if you are already in a happy relationship, then it may be about love for a project, love for creative energy. It could be love for a spiritual path. But for many of you, this might be, is this the right relationship? Because one of the things that this can show is an imbalance within relationships, like codependency, that kind of thing. And so there may be, you need to sort of go with the flow, see what is happening a little bit more to make that kind of a decision. So if you're in a relationship, or if you found it hard to find the right relationship, then it could be allowing enough to come up so that you can make the choices that brings you to something that's more balanced. So we'll see, because it depends on what tarot tells us, and we might see that these things are quite separate. But just on the overview, I feel like there's a kind of fairly obvious sort of pattern to this, a fairly obvious sort of connection. So what we're going to do with each is we're going to get some tarot. Firstly, from the deck that you came to this reading for, and secondly, from a tarot deck called Visions of Life, which I'll talk about. And then we're going to have a look at the alchemy and the archetypes around this, and also get you some astrological advice. So firstly, a little bit more information about where you're on the waves, where you need to go with the flow, where you need to trust, because things aren't clear and it could be a bit turbulent. Eight of Cups reversed. Judgment. Yeah, there's a decision coming up, and it's not far away. Justice. The Four of Swords. Okay, all right. So there's an emotional issue around you that's been around for quite some time, and you do find it hard to let it go. And this could be because that's the right thing to do, the time to make that decision one way or the other. And it could be in a relationship pattern or a relationship feeling, and not necessarily a relationship you let go of. This is not necessarily saying you have to let go of something. It's just that there's some emotional patterns that you kind of feel a bit stuck in, and you're going to have to make a decision about it. And if it's not in a love relationship, it could be in a work relationship, it could be in something that you're doing spiritually, but there's something to do with emotional patterns that are very hard for you to let go of, and or that you are coming up with patterns of things that keep happening, patterns that are happening in relationships that seem to always trigger the same thing. So you're coming to a point where you need to decide about that. And there's something about what is fair in this. And this is saying it is okay, again, to trust, to go within. Going within is going to kind of bring you the balance and the understanding you need. You're a bit worried about when this decision is necessary. You're a bit worried about whether your emotions are clear enough, and that makes sense with the turbulence that comes with the waves. But if you ride with the waves and you go within, you have a better chance of actually making the right decision when it comes. And you're very right. There's a kind of a calling about it that it's an important decision. It will have external things. There's someone else involved or other factors involved outside of you, and that you only have a particular time period to do it. So I also wanted to use a deck called the Visions of Life Tarot, which is a tarot, and any of the major arcana cards are quite clear, but the minor arcana cards are not as clearly divided into their suits. I'm sure there's a correlation, but the way I tend to read it is more like an oracle, because it feels like the major arcana plus a number of other very recognizable energies in human life. So I think that's how I want to use it here. What are some energies on that level for you that could help you with riding the waves, pile 2? So firstly, we get, okay, temperance, balance. Yeah, it's all about balance. And I think there's a key here. I think that you might naturally feel comfortable with the intellectual ideas about balance, but you tend to stay in less balance emotionally. So in making that decision, you need to kind of look at both. What does your heart say as well as your head? And somebody who is very much in their head would find it hard to just relax and go with the waves of emotional change. And we get enthusiasm. So this is good. You're slowing yourself down to work out what to do. I think this is a good energy, because if you are sort of like still not quite in balance between the emotional impact of this, and you have things to clear out that way, and you move too quickly because you get enthusiastic about the idea, then you may not make as good a decision, or you might not have the clarity. So this is you understanding something has to come into balance, and understanding that what it is that you bring to it internally is going to be the key. So given that, what kind of alchemy, what kind of change do you need? Since it's sort of like a balance going within, and we have the sort of like being a little bit judicious, knowing a very big decision is coming up, what alchemy would be helpful for you to understand about what is changing within you for this, pile 2? Resin. So there's something about this choice, whether this is separate to these others, though I suspect it's connected, that you do want to preserve something. This isn't necessarily a choice to literally completely cut something out of your life or whatever, or to completely do something different. And this might be why we have balance as well, because resin is a material that you can preserve things in. And I think this is whatever this emotional thing is. In fact, it might be saying to you that while this is a pattern, if you let it rule you, if you're not in balance, that stops you from making the decisions that you need and bringing the passion, love, or whatever it is that you want into your life, there is still something in this that is worth preserving. So it's part of the thing to think about is in moving forward and making that decision, how do you preserve that which was precious from what you've done before? Okay, so let's see if we maybe get a little bit of advice from an archetype to consider in relation to this. The cave. Yeah, it's all about going within. Your inner witch is saying, I know the answer to this. You know the answer to this. You need to go within. You need to sort of like find almost the first principles, and you need to don't be afraid of the dark, it's almost saying. Don't be afraid of that. Don't be even afraid of patterns if you felt they haven't served you, because there still might be something, as I say, to preserve and understand that will help you make the decision rather than trip yourself up. I do think there's something here that's saying do take a little bit of time before you make a critical decision, because I feel it's sort of saying there is something, even though the balance of your head and heart around this situation hasn't served you, they still both should serve you. So there's something from the heart pattern that you need to, it would be denying yourself and therefore deceiving yourself in a way not to see that. So you do need to go within. Let's see what astrology energy there is for you. I'm also getting, and this is an interesting thought, that waves, if waves came within a cave, over time they will settle. This is the thing. It's like if you go within, you can settle some of this. So some astrology advice or guidance for you. The 9th house, this has something to do with your beliefs, really core beliefs. And that, I think, is why It's not going to be as simple as, oh, I used to do this sort of pattern in relationships. I'm just not going to do it anymore, because it's something underneath that has to do with your core beliefs, and you need to know what that is so you make the right decisions. You don't, as I say, deceive yourself and trip yourself up. We also get fire. Yeah, and this is about, and it's interesting with water and fire, that creates steam, the sort of energy. Like what would sort of create steam? What would heat things up for you? What would make you feel passionate again? This is it. You can't lose. In fact, I do think this is saying, when I look at all those cards together, that the big risk that your inner witch or warlock is wanting to talk to you about is not to lose, not to think that the emotional patterns were all wrong. It's like, how do you preserve them and use them around the core beliefs so that you move forward in a more balanced way around things? So then we come to the decision, the crossroads. You're at the crossroads. So what advice do you have there? The Empress, the Star reversed, the Two of Swords, the Eight of Wands. Okay. So it's interesting. This has a little bit of an energy similar to one of the other readings, in that I think there's something about what is nurturing for you. And how do you nurture others? There's something in that, and what maybe your beliefs are that are important. This suggests to me that when you're at a crossroads, if you don't have all the information you need to make a decision, you tend to put other people first. Then you feel like you can move forward. So there's something in your belief structure that says, when in doubt, look after the other person first. And like a lot of the time that could be good. It's a beautiful energy. It's a very nurturing energy. And in certain relationships you have, it's very, very important. So there's something about that kindness that you have and that other person-centeredness that you have that is worth preserving, but it's not really fair to you. So this is the thing. It's like, examine how you do that and why you do that when you have important decisions but you don't have all the information. Because that's what you need to get into balance, pile 2. So let's see what the visions of life want to say as some extra advice around this. Waiting. Okay. So this is the Hangman. Yeah, you're a bit too self-sacrificial. It's also saying take your time around this. Even when it's an important thing, take your time. Don't rush, but it is saying you tend to self-sacrifice too much. It's your default. You're probably not even aware you're doing it, but look back at what you do, and this could be in any realm of your life, about where you weren't sure and it was connecting with others. You'll see this pattern, I think, pile 2. Charm. Yeah, and it makes you incredibly charming. It is part of your charm, and people respond to it, but you just got to get in balance. This is saying there's something very beautiful in it and charming in it. You've just got to make it so that it's balanced, so it's not self-sacrificial. Okay, so what kind of alchemy or change would be helpful here for you, pile 2? Sparks of light. Okay. Sparks of light feels like some information coming through, some guidance coming through. And the star is reversed here, and then we have sparks of light. I think this is a card of optimism. This is a card of when things feel dark or difficult, that the light is coming through and the light is going to win. So I think this is trusting in that, trusting that you are also meant to be a star, you are also meant to shine brightly, that's not somehow being too selfish, that quite the opposite, you have this opposite default in actual fact, and that there is going to be guidance for you, there is going to be support from the heavens, there is more light than there is dark in this. Let's see what archetype is useful to consider. I also think light will be shared on the decision. You will get the information you need, particularly if you go within. The mystic, yeah, you are a mystic. The cave, the mystic, boy, you are a mystic. This is part of the thing, like mystics do put the divine, do put all of that sort of thing ahead of anything else, but we're also in the material world, so we have to work out how that's going to operate. But very, very strongly connected to the divine. It's very, very strongly saying you will get the information you need if you go within. You are natural at that. Let's see the astrology. Oops, I was shuffling the wrong deck for some reason. Let's get the astrology. Neptune. Oh, yeah, it's really tripling down on this, that all that you need really is to go within. You really are very psychic. You really can work this out. Just need to trust that. And Capricorn, then you can make something that is in the world. But that's the process. It feels almost more like you've denied that within yourself and always defaulted to how you help the other person. But if you actually do it the other way around, you can actually create something more, whether it's a relationship, whatever it might be, that's going to be more mutually beneficial to everybody. Okay, and so then let's look at how romance, love, or whatever love energy we're talking about here comes into your life best. The Knight of Wands. The Sun, oh lovely. The Hermit, there you are, the Mystic. The Ten of Wands, yeah, okay, all right. So it's time for you to have something, passion, love. It's part of your life direction now. If you're already in a love relationship, it's time for that to even blossom further in some way. If you aren't, it's time for that to come in. It may literally be saying on a pragmatic level that some of these changes that you do and decisions might involve you, say, moving home or moving where you are to go towards your life path, or even towards a warmer climate, like on a quite literal level. But you are meant to have that. You're meant to bring passion in. It's part of your life path now. You've been the mystic. You've been the person who was sort of more ascetic and more sort of separated out. But if you use that energy and that ability more towards that, you'll bring that in and you relieve a burden from yourself, a burden that you've been carrying that you didn't need to carry. So let's see the visions of life. Extra information around the love energy for you. Optimism. Yeah, be optimistic. Don't be the sad one here. Be optimistic. Something really good is coming in for you. And yeah, let go of the sorrow. Like there's almost, isn't it interesting? You've got the clown here who's really unhappy, and you've got the player on the stage doing the kind of, almost Hamlet type soliloquy by the looks of things. You're not meant to feel that anymore. You're meant to be happy. It's okay to be happy, pole 2. You're not being frivolous or not caring enough or whatever. You're meant to be happy. That energy is meant to come in. So what alchemy will help you? Embrace the optimism and release the sorrow. Summer. Yeah, there's something about summer maybe. That might be for some of you a time period that this really starts to come in around, when it's more sunny, literally with the sun there. But this is certainly harvest. You've done a lot, for others. You're due yours, to be honest. You're due your sort of harvest at this point. And I think, that, and understanding also that that's okay to claim, and that then that starts a new cycle and a new energy and lets go of what was difficult. Because summer is also the time to get ready to let go of what is no longer working for you. And the archetype for you to consider, the lover. And with the lover, I do think for most of you, if you aren't already in a happy relationship, one's coming in and it's going to be really lovely, and that you deserve it, and you don't need to you can preserve all the relationships before, in the resin. You can get your balance right here. You can do all that. You can keep your lovely, kind energy because you're a very kind person. But you are meant to have that. And if you are in a love relationship already, it's going to get even better. And if it's not around that, it's around kind of connecting the lover, the mystic and the divine and your psychic energy with something that you could really be passionate about in this life. So to close out, let's just get you a couple of astrology cards around bringing this love energy in. Water. So we go back to water. It all starts with the water. It all finishes with the water. This is about emotional things. And Libra. Oh, there you go. That's it, in balance. You had up here, you had justice, and you had the water and the 8 of Cups reversed. By bringing this into balance, your emotions and your intellect, and picking up your charm that we saw earlier, with the Libra, that's what brings this in. You're a lovely person, Poto. Any of you who've come to this, you're lovely, and you deserve your share of love. And I think this is saying that it's coming in whatever that means for you. So I hope that resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear about it. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, Pile 3, to your reading. So I think looking at these runes that this may be the most overtly spiritual reading of the three, which is not to say that there wasn't spiritual stuff in the rest of it, but these are very spiritually oriented runes, which I'll go through in a second. Though they also can be about particularly these two connections, alliances, relationships and so forth. So we'll see what happens as the tarot goes through to see whether there's a dominant energy one way or the other or whether it's a bit of both. But you firstly have the moon, which is about introspection, all the things that you would associate with the moon in the tarot, really, that sort of introspection, the spiritual journey, the emotional connections, all of that sort of thing. You also have the rings. This is about alliances, connections. On a spiritual level, it's about the universe and our connection with the universe. And on a more sort of 3D level, it's about our connections and alliances with others. And then you have the eye, which is about spiritual enlightenment, spiritual journeys, spiritual knowledge, spiritual ritual, all of that kind of thing. So those three together feel very spiritual to me. But as I say, we're going to see what we get with the tarot, because it may be a very spiritual approach to alliances and connections, or it may be that these things are not connected, that this is about alliances and connections, and these two are about spiritual, for instance. So we'll see what the tarot tells us. So what we're going to do for each is I'm going to do a first line of tarot from the Tarot of Holy Spectrum. Then I'm going to use a different tarot deck that I've used in each of the readings, and I'll explain why. Then we're going to have a look at what is alchemizing or changing in you, what archetype is important to think about, and some astrology advice as well. So firstly, around the moon, when we're looking at the introspective spiritual journey, the energies where there could be things to uncover or learn, emotional connections, all of that sort of thing. What does the tarot tell us to give more information about this rune for you? We have the sun. Oh, the moon and the sun. Wow, okay. So if this is about alliances, connections, then there's something very fated we're talking about here. Could be a divine counterpart or something like that. And if it is spiritual, then there's something very alchemical about this. So the alchemy is going to be interesting, because the sun and the moon together is extraordinary. We have the 10 of Pentacles reversed. We have the 9 of Cups. And we have the 7 of Swords. Okay. So we are in the realm of the moon. And as I say, we have the moon and the sun. So there's a divine inner balance operating if this is around spiritual stuff. And if it's around connections, there's some very profound, important connections. But it's interesting because they're coming from the dissolution of something else. It's like there is, it could be literally, this could be someone moving out of home. I just use it as a very mundane thing as an example, that there is that time. It is time to go on one's own inner and outer journey. You leave the home that you're in to find your particular dream, and you have to negotiate all the things that are around it with the 7 of Swords. And you have to be as realistic with yourself as possible, because once you sort of leave a kind of a sheltered area or a home or something like that, which has been the structure of your life for a long time, and you go towards your dream, you have to be very aware. This is why you need to sort of know what's going on under the surface. So it's a very mundane way of reading those cards, but it's a possible thing to give an example of the energy here. If this is on a spiritual journey, then there is some tradition you're leaving because it no longer fits your dream, and you're not sure if it's even honest within your framework. So there's a potential thing there. If it's a key relationship coming in, and most likely love, divine counterpart or something with that kind of energy, then you're not wrong about it, but there may be a lot that you have to sort out and understand on a kind of like, almost a, let's put our cards on the table. There might be something that's a bit hidden about it still that you're not sure. And that's not unusual with divine counterpart type of relationships. They often start off fairly complicated, but there's something about the old energy that is no longer serving the dream, and this is the introspective part, but there's a very strong indication here that you're very alchemically attuned. What I want to do is I want to get a couple of like very 3D sort of energies for this. So I'm using a different tarot called the Visions of Life Tarot. Now this tarot has, the major arcana are identifiable, but the minor arcana are a little bit more diffuse. It's a little bit harder to work out on the face of it what suits they're in, and so I find it easier to read it like an oracle. So we're just going to sort of see a couple of sort of almost 3D type element or energies that also pertain to this moon energy for you. So firstly, okay, so we have freedom reversed. Yeah, this is you negotiating some sort of freedom, some sort of breaking away from something that isn't working anymore. You feel, I think that this is saying you're in too restrictive a situation. There might even be relationships around you, situations around you that are manipulating you. And so it's like you need to recognize that, to follow your sun and moon, because you're not as free at the moment as you would like to be. And this is something you need to examine sort of spiritually, introspectively, emotionally. And this is to break you out of that sense of being stuck. And so this is not to be disappointed anymore. So yeah, it's just confirming overall that you are meant to come into something better. You are meant to find out what is holding you back, and you're meant to come into something better. It may even be saying that you have a sense that a relationship has just come in that could be a divine counterpart, but it's tricky, as they often are. And you've had patterns before where you just got kind of caught up in it and didn't help, and it was disappointing. So this may be go within to sort of see if this energy is what you think it is. But I feel for most of you, if that's the case, it is. There's something very alchemical going on. Speaking of alchemy, let's see what alchemical energy is attached to this moon introspection for you, or could work best for you on that sort of level. Mystical sister. Okay. This very strongly suggests that there is strong spiritual guidance around you. There's something, I mean, this is a very spiritual reading, I have to say. I think I'm going to probably kind of tilt more to talking about this. I think that although it could be playing out around a divine counterpart, and that is a spiritual thing, it could be playing out around something very material where you're moving away from a more restrictive environment into something that you can more enjoy. Very strong spiritual guidance around you to do this. This is a very spiritual question we're talking about, I think. And this is sort of saying that the old ways of looking at things spiritually, I think, are now, they are too restrictive. You're meant to sort of like relieve that, understand what didn't work, why, get real about it, and kind of connect to your higher guidance. So, and the sun coming in here, so saying you can do this, pile 3. So let's see an archetype that would be helpful for you to consider. The castle. Okay. So yeah, this is all about whether it's spiritual beliefs, relationships, whatever this is. The castle is a fortress. The castle has many, many sort of jewels and treasures in it, all of those things, but it's also something that boxes us in. So this is for you to really go within and work out within your balance what is restricting you and what has not delivered, so that you can go towards what you want. You know, and there may be parts of the castle that are part of your dream that you need to sort of take with you, but there's definitely a sense here of an introspective journey to work out where you've been restricted and where there's value in what you do, and you're going to have guidance to help you. Let's get you some astrological guidance as well, pile 3. The waxing crescent moon is setting your intentions. Yeah, this is what you're going within and getting the balance of the moon and the sun for, so that you can start to work out what it is. It's like a negotiation, whether it's a negotiation with yourself or with other people. And air, there's a lot of thought that's necessary around this. So one of the things it's saying is that you are deeply spiritual, and this is shown with this, and you get a lot of spiritual downloads and all of that kind of thing. And you should definitely listen to all of that, but you do need to also listen to your mind, because there's something to be negotiated in this. There's an old order, an old set of patterns that needs to be reconsidered and either moved away from or reframed for your dream. And you do need to listen to your mind around it, that you maybe tend to tilt towards the emotion. So it's important to be aware of that. Okay, so let's have a look at the second thing, which is where we might have alliances. So whether this is spiritual alliances with your guides and with the divine more generally, or whether it's alliances that help you pursue whatever this is. So what do we get, pile 3? The Fool. Well, there's a new journey, going out and doing something new. We have the 8 of Cups reversed. The King of Cups. The Page of Swords. Okay, all right. So, for a start, you do tilt towards the emotions to deal with things. And most of the time, because you're very emotionally mature and spiritually mature, that works for you. That's fine. But this is saying that this is something new. And whether it's connecting with other people or connecting with the divine, the mind is really important. You do need to listen to the mind as well. You also need to communicate with others. This could be saying that you could otherwise draw in people who seem emotionally very connected to you, but they are old patterns that are not part of the new. So it's almost like familiarity isn't a good thing around this. It's almost like kind of in communication finding what's different and finding what feels emotionally and otherwise mature, ready to do something new. So it's very, very important to understand that and understand you might have had a tendency to go towards the emotional connection, but you need to also have a meeting of the minds around this. And if it is around spiritual growth, then you're all over the emotional stuff, but you tend to overemphasize it. The new thing is to bring in some sort of philosophy or idea around what you're doing. That will bring the right sort of spiritual alliances and guidance to you. Let's see what the tarot, the visions of life tarot add to the picture for you. Defeat reverse. Yeah, you're meant to sort of now succeed at something that maybe didn't work before. There was disappointment before. You were feeling trapped before. So there is something to let go of. And I think when I see this, there's that thing about you need to grab victory from the jaws of defeat, not the other way around, not grab defeat from the jaws of victory. So this is why understanding the patterns and kind of giving it a sort of like an intellectual go over would be helpful. And authority, we are the Emperor reversed. Yeah. There's something, I think there's a number of messages around this. I think you give a lot of authority to the emotional side of things, and that hasn't helped you necessarily. That's why we've got the sun balancing the moon there. It's also that you may have been around people who are very dominating, and you need to be able to negotiate that, and they'll negotiate through the mind. You can win in this battle. You can be victorious, but you need to understand the philosophy behind that sort of thing, particularly around alliances. And it could also be around spiritual things that you may be deferred to the thought patterns and the frameworks of others because it was all what you felt, but you need to create your own framework here to take on your mastery, so to speak. So the alchemy around this part of it, around the alliance, spiritually or materially for you. Neptune. Okay, so this tells me a few things. Certainly it doubles down again that for most of you this is something about a spiritual journey. So it's spiritual alliances, either with other spiritual people or with your guides or whatever, and you're very well attuned to that, so that's good. And it is important to trust that, even though, as I say, you need to use your mind as well. But that's also the double message here, because Neptune is a wonderful planet, but sometimes it's not clear. So it's very important to bring the clarity as well. It's a balance that we're talking about. So let's have a look at, because there are people in the spiritual community who go, get out of your mind won't work, but you actually do need all the elements. I often bang on about this, because if you don't also process things through your mind, you're actually robbing yourself of some of the understanding of what's coming through to you. So the archetype that is helpful for you is Anima Mundi. Wow. Yeah, this is deep. You guys are deep. Like I do think this is spiritual. Really connecting. It's interesting. Neptune is one of the furthest out planets from us, and the Anima Mundi is Earth. So there's a great scope to this, and understanding there's a great scope to it. And I think it's also saying alliances both with the heavens and also with those in this world. They're both important. The Anima Mundi is about how everything is interconnected and understanding how everything is interconnected. And you do get that. That's why this sort of energy is there for you. Or you could have like the breakthrough, the aha moment, the sort of spiritual enlightenment. Let's see the astrology around it. Third quarter moon, the release, out with the old and in with the new. Yeah. New. This is new energy coming in. That's why you need clarity. We need a lot of clarity at the beginning of things. Then if we have that, it's usually easier to sort of move forward and just operate on intuition, but we need the clarity to start with. And Capricorn, yeah, because you're meant to bring something into being, a new tradition. Yeah, and maybe literally something like your spiritual path becomes your business in some way. So that energy is operating as well. All right, and so then we get to the big one, the I, the enlightenment, the understanding, the aha moment. How is that playing out for you, pile 3? Knight of Cups reversed, Page of Cups, the Four of Pentacles, the Ace of Pentacles. Okay, yeah. I do think this is saying for many of you that there's a spiritual thing here that will become a material thing for you in one way or the other, whether it's literally that you do spiritual work for a living or whether you bring spiritual principles and a new spiritual approach to something that you have a foundation for already, but it has so much more potential to grow. And you'll get an aha moment out of that. And how you get it is working out what isn't working, what is disappointing emotionally for this, but you actually confront that and you look at it not just as a feeling, but you recalibrate. You go back to first principles. What did you want to feel? What did you want this spiritual thing to feel like? But it's like you think about it. I know that sort of sounds weird, but it's like it's not just experiencing it, it's actually excavating it. Where has the spiritual pathway to date not really fulfilled what you thought enlightenment would feel like? And then what you thought enlightenment would think like. And that's how you do this. This is how you understand it. Then you will see that you have a foundation already and there's so much more potential to grow. That's the aha moment. It's like you've just gone on the feelings and it's like it hasn't had a framework to sit within. And you are so psychic and so you get so many downloads and all that sort of stuff. It's like major for this group. But if you're just in the feeling of it, you're not using it to its full perspective and you're not even understanding how much you could do with this. So let's see the visions of life around this, around the enlightenment, around the aha moment, about it's a recalibration of what you want this to feel like so that you can materially build something with it. Relationships. Okay, so this is the Lovers. So there could be something about a love relationship, or it could be the relationship of all the interconnected things and how that becomes more interconnected and freed as opposed to sort of like everybody in their little fiefdom. So that could be going on. The thing that I find really interesting about this card is it's the Lovers card, and see how they're both trying to hug but they're going in opposite directions. I think this is actually more representative of your inner moon and sun here, and it's saying that this is what's happening because you haven't really worked out the difference between the experience you're having at the moment emotionally and what you wanted. It's like it's not quite hitting that. Once you work that through, you'll be able to sort of build what you want to build. And if this is all about a divine counterpart energy where you have to really think about what it is about this and work out how to work out about it, it is saying there's something not quite connecting between the two of you. That's what you need to work out. What should it feel like for both of you? And action. Yeah, and then you can take action. Because that's also you sort of saying this is, and it's interesting here, we've got sort of person like, you know, like what, working out what it is that you really want and what you're really putting your energy into and for what reason. This is the thinking about it. It's not just sort of having the sort of spiritual experience, it's the thinking about it. So let's see the alchemy of that for you, pile 3. Spring. Yeah, something new wants to come in. There's new growth, absolutely. It's so close because you are very, very psychic, very, very spiritual, this group. No doubt about it at all. And there are great alliances and great connections and great love or whatever it is that you're looking for, sort of ready to just sort of burst into being. But you just have to kind of make sure that you're thinking about it and having a framework that gives it a solid basis. So as again, then you can just kind of like move within it because of your sort of psychic and spiritual ability. The archetype that could be helpful for you is the Storm. Wow. Okay. So the other bit of this, and the other reason why your mind is going to be important, is that the Storm, this is a bit like the Tower. This is a very significant enlightenment, a significant breakthrough, a significant connection to the rest of the world spiritually and otherwise, a significant release from old patterns, absolutely. And it's new energy coming in. But in the Storm, you need to be able to assess what you are going to do. That's the thing. You get to the eye of the storm and you actually understand what is the new growth that you want. And you understand also how old practices aren't fitting anymore and why they aren't fitting anymore, why it wouldn't fit in the new garden, why it would not grow. There is a big aha moment, a big breakthrough that brings in the new. But in that point, you're coming out of a storm, you're coming out where everything's kind of a little bit all over the place, that's when you need to have understood this. You need to have a kind of a framework. You need a kind of like a map almost for this for you. So let's finish off, hopefully to help you with that map, with a couple of astrology cards as well. So then we have the waxing gibbous moon, adjustments, clarifying your direction. Yeah, this is the thing. It's just a process. It's all about setting intentions, understanding what you want to grow, clarifying things as you go along, knowing you can course correct. Again, if you have a framework, you can adjust that framework as you go along. It doesn't have to be set in stone, but it gives you something to work from. And fire, then you allow all the passion, all the energy, all the inspiration to come through. And you don't slow yourself down because you know you can course correct as you go along. So it's interesting. This is a highly spiritual reading. This is about a highly spiritual thing, whether it's a spiritual belief system, whether you turn your spirituality into your vocation, whatever it might be, whether it's a divine counterpart. Any of those things could be the case, because that could be a bit like a tower relationship. They're big. You feel a bit vulnerable in them, but they're the most transformative and wonderful relationships if you can kind of keep them in balance. But it is really important in the midst of all of that to use your mind, because it'll give you a framework. That's all it's meant to do. It'll bring you some clarity. Then you can let all that inspiration and downloads from your guides or whatever come through, being confident that you can move forward and that you will get the right information to make the right decisions. So I hope that resonates for you, Pile 3. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings.